What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Weston Sleigh at Home Speaker Series. Tonight we have a fantastic discussion going on. We're going to give everybody a few more minutes to join the webinar here, but those of you that are already tuned in, go ahead and open up that chat page and let us know where you guys are tuning in from, please. Awesome. We got Breckenridge in the house, and Minnesota. We got Spokane, Washington. Awesome. A lot of Goldens in the building. Awesome. Well, awesome, guys. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I'll be your host this evening, Ben. I'm the brand experience manager here at Weston. We've been doing this Slay at Home series now for a few weeks, so we just really appreciate you guys tuning in, joining your local backcountry community since we can't be outside enjoying it ourselves. But good news is on the horizon, so we appreciate you guys tuning in. Before we get started, I just want to remind everyone about the Airy fundraiser we're doing. Normally, a lot of you might know we run Front Range Split Fest. This year, we couldn't do it for obvious reasons, but we're still raising money for Airy. So if you're interested in helping us raise some money for Airy, you can actually buy this hatchet split. The Eclipse is already sold. This is one of two boards we put up for sale before they were even available next year. So the hatchet split here is still for sale. This is an amazing freestyle powder board that we've been working on for a number of years. It's built for a freestyle rider that's really looking to have a blast in the backcountry. So if you guys are interested in those, hit us up at westonbackcountry.com. But tonight we're gonna go over a lot of stuff, really just everything you guys need to know to plan an amazing trip to Japan. It's one of our favorite places in the world. We go there every year, so this is just a perfect way for us to express all kinds of tips and tricks for traveling to one of our favorite places tonight. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Tonight we have a lot of great participants. Again, I'm Ben, the brand experience manager for Weston. We also have Pat Gephardt, who you guys might have seen in the past few episodes, one of our local guides, and is on our local guide team. We're even able to get Leo out this year, the owner and team manager for Weston. Leo, you want to say hi to the people real quick, buddy?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's staying sane and ready to get at it.
Yeah, buddy. We've also got Zach Husted in the building, one of our guide team members and a guide at White Room Tours, and he'll be joining us again in Colorado this year. Zach?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for making time tonight and looking forward to this presentation.
Awesome. We've also got Sam Roach at the Hokkaido Backcountry Club. Sam is another guide over in Japan. So you guys really make use of these guys tonight. If you have questions, please type them in the Q&A. If you've got just comments you want to make, use the chat for that. But, reach out to these guys directly if you want to ask them a question. Sam, you want to tell the people hello?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Yeah, also excited to be here tonight. Most people I've talked to in a while at one time, so.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. Next up, we've got another guide team member, Izzy Lazarus. Izzy was one of our first guide team members, and she's still one of our favorite. Izzy, you want to say hello?
Hi, everybody.
Awesome. We've also got one of our team riders and team photographers here, Jeff Kepler.
How's it going, everyone?
Awesome. Thanks for being here, bud. We've also got Brendo here, aka Brendan Glenride, another team rider. And just partner in crime for many years. Brendan, you here?
Yeah, how you doing?
We've also got Sean, the glue that holds it all together here, our marketing director. Sean, you want to say hello to the people? No, he's muted.
What's going on, everyone?
He's also our technology manager, IT tech.
Sometimes.
Well, awesome, guys. Without any further ado, I'm going to kick it over to the owner of Weston here, and just kind of let him run through, all his favorite aspects of going to Japan. So without any further ado, here is Mr. Leo Tsuo.
Yeah, what's happening, everybody? Konnichiwa. We're really just, like Ben was saying, we're really just trying to pass on as much beta and just as many tips as we possibly can. Japan is increasingly becoming like a real dream destination for everybody, and for a lot of good reasons too. We'll try to go through just the five, the why, who, what, when, how, why, whatever, as well as to go through our pro tips. Hopefully you guys can get some little hidden gems and possibly don't make some of the same mistakes that we had made. And also, talk about a few of the really, the highlights of our trips, with onsens and with Yotei. So we'll just go ahead and start it off with, why Japan? So, I'd like to just kind of do a quick round robin with everybody, maybe just share maybe the top 2 or 3 things that, reasons why you guys should, why people should go to Japan. My first one, just first and foremost, we don't call it Japao because the snow sucks there, it's definitely powder. Let's see, the second thing that I would say is to see these really cool little cartoon characters that they have on everybody's freaking signs, and everybody seems to have. So, go ahead, just pass the torch to whoever wants to take it next. Give us, your top 2 or 3 things off the top of your head as to why people should go to Japan.
Yeah, I can jump in, and it's nothing too crazy because it's also the powder. I think that, especially like for most of us are from North America, outside of Japan, if you're going to take a trip somewhere, there's not many places that are as consistently good for powder skiing as Japan. And then you're in Japan too, like the culture, which I'm sure we'll get into, the food, all of that is kind of the complement to the snow.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Everyone goes for the skiing and snowboarding, obviously, but the culture. I mean, Japan's worth going to in the summer or any time of year. It's just amazing. It's just so beautiful. The people are so polite. The toilets are all warm and play music. It's like heaven. It's 7-Eleven. I mean, yeah. there's a lot of awesome things about Japan that we'll get into here.
Yeah, there's some other things, like everyone said, the snow and the terrain, just the way the snow builds up on like trees and you get all kinds of pillows and drops you could hit. A lot of fun there. The culture, the onsens are great. Just going in, natural hot springs. The sake, Ben just held up. Oh, no one can see that. Anyway, yeah, just great times, great people. Definitely got to check it out.
I'm also going to echo what everyone's saying. Definitely the snow is what brought me originally and kind of attracted me to Japan, and finally working there the last 3 years. Beyond that, the food and culture is just phenomenal. The most polite and friendly people I've ever met. And in tune with that, onsens, and being able to finish a big ski day with the best food and a great soak can't be topped.
Yeah, the variety is huge. From what you can find in a 7-Eleven, or being able to ride pillows or big mountains. It's just cool. It was a lot different than I expected. I think I was just expecting deep POW every day, and there was just a lot of terrain that I wasn't expecting. It was pretty fun.
I think everyone, when we tell them that 7-Eleven is awesome in Japan, gives us kind of the question mark, and it's like, no, but really, like, it is the best.
And sushi trains.
That too.
And sake juice boxes. I mean, that sake juice boxes, guys. 7-Eleven's crazy.
Yeah. Or beer vending machines. That's a great perk too.
Right.
I mean, they have vending machines for everything out there, It's awesome. I would definitely have to say the terrain and the snow when it's good is just unquestionably amazing. It's like hero snow. The different terrain is pretty cool. You can go up Yotei one day and then go and hit fumaroles like in a zone with fumaroles the next day. And then just that option to go to an onsen every day. And after snowboarding is just incredible.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, and if anybody else has, been to Japan that's just listening in, feel free to throw down a chat with, what are some of your guys' best things that you guys really enjoyed, But we pretty much touched on a lot of it, the snow is really what just kind of always gets us, the one of the things that's always unique for me, the trees, the different flora and fauna that you guys will see just cruising around. I mean, Japan had like a very explosive growth in the 90s where there were just resorts everywhere, and they still are around, and so you could just, I think even like the closest one from even Tokyo is like an hour and a half or an hour away. But yeah, some of the ones that didn't get the cheap lift tickets, the exchange rate is good for us, especially from the US right now. And even because there's just so much access, like I think on some of the mega passes too, you can still get, but honestly, the resorts are just one part of it. There's just so much amazing backcountry that's super easily accessible, and just the overall, the culture will keep you coming back. The toilets, in all honesty, I'm not going to discuss the toilets. I honestly just going to leave that one to you. Just got to go and experience it for yourself. And then you'll come back and you'll completely understand why. My brother actually went out and had to hunt one down.
I thought there was going to be a couple slides on the toilet in this thing.
I know, we could turn this into its own separate presentation here.
Just make sure you understand what the buttons do first.
Yeah.
Or not. That's part of the just press away and see what happens.
That's seriously like one of the first things you miss, like when you get back to the States about Japan, is like you go and sit down on a normal toilet and it's just not the same ever again.
Never the same.
Never the same, people.
Yeah. So, if we haven't quite convinced you, that there's way more to Japan than just the cool, just the great snow and culture, there's so many little things that I think it just keeps Japan unique. I've been lucky. I've been able to go there probably about 6 times now, just so you guys are aware too. Sam and Zach, they both guide there in Northern Hemisphere winters. So, they are fortunate to live the dream life of being out there often. So again, if you guys have any, questions and then the rest of us, with the team, a lot of us, were able to fortunately, just spend about a week, 2 weeks out there. And so hopefully we'll be able to get 2 different perspectives about this. People that have been living there, guiding people, to all the, to just the first timers that, okay, this was just our initial knee-jerk reaction, and some really cool tips. And hopefully we can, make it entertaining too for you guys. So, the next thing that we were going to try to touch on was, who do you go with? Me personally, it's a totally different experience when I get to go with my wife versus I get to go with the team, and so, maybe maybe some of the guys, the team, you guys can maybe talk about how much, what's the experience like when you get to travel with your, with the homies that are all at the same skill level, Anybody can chime in. Don't forget to unmute yourself too. So.
Yeah, I think you definitely want to go with people with the same ability level, obviously, especially if you're trying to get into some serious splitboarding and, check off a few thousand feet of vert. You don't want people, not having the fitness they need to do what you want to do. And you want people with the same mindset. If you like splitboarding, you should go with splitboarders. If you want to go hit handrails, you should do both.
Don't hit Japan. Go to the Midwest.
But yeah, I think just going with people that have a positive attitude is the most important thing. If it snows, if it doesn't snow, you're on vacation. So it needs to be people that you really like spending time with, not just athletic people.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then also, I think another big part is maybe a group of friends that are also just as inquisitive of getting naked together and jumping in an onsen and trying all sorts of new kinds of food and just kind of like thinking outside the box, maybe not the comfortable couple group or something like that, but
Definitely.
just spreading out a little bit more.
Yeah, it has like the combination of a skiing experience that you want to pick, a group for, and then it's a total international travel experience, and so there's stress related to that at times, and having people that you've done one or the other with is helpful, but finding that kind of crew that jives well with both is kind of ideal.
Yeah, I think definitely there are some kind of just hard conversations to have with people. It's definitely, it's definitely, I think a lot of people can relate the fact that sometimes people are just going to be like, oh yeah, dude, I can totally send a triple black or whatever. And next thing you know, they're like barely able to turn down the money hill. And you're like, oh, so, if you haven't ridden with them, you might want to at least set the expectation that hey, we might be splitting off into groups, and, asking people what kind of food and what kind of experience that people are looking for before you commit to booking that trip. Because, often it can be a lot of money. And you definitely want to make the best out of the time there. I think that let me see here. There was a couple of some questions we'll try to kind of answer on the fly too. So okay. How restricted is side country access? I think that this is actually an interesting one. I'm not. I can say that if some resorts are fairly open to it, enter through the gate. Some resorts are, you're going to have people definitely, I think exiting out the resort is always kind of a gamble. It's the second you leave the gate, it's backcountry. I've definitely had to hike out some places, and when it comes to who do you go with too, I think that that does bring the topic of kind of guides. I literally had to post hole for 2 hours out once, by just going out a gate, and it just got the exit was just done for, so. And then
Zach or Sam, do you guys have recommendations on hiring guides to go ride at a gates? We'll kind of get into that stuff in a couple slides here.
Mm-hmm.
We had another couple questions though from @Kai Files. We noticed most locals using snow.
Oh, I know Kai. What up,
Yotei? Was it difficult splitting? And I think we would all agree that splitting definitely saved us some time. And we ended up boot packing up most of the volcano too. So, snowshoeing is definitely not the way to go if you have a split board and you know how to split board. But I would still recommend riding with a guide, and we'll talk about a little bit more Yotei a little bit more in a little while. And then lodging, we're also gonna discuss that here in a little while. We usually stay with Hokkaido Backcountry Club at the Black Diamond Lodge, and we'll kind of touch on that stuff too. Guides, do you have any input on? We had a question from @HGrayH. How restricted is?
Yeah, that was the one that I read out. Yep. So I'm curious. Yeah, maybe Sam or Zach, you guys want to hop in on, what your guys' thoughts are on the, gate access.
Yeah, it really depends on, what mountain and where you're visiting. I know Sam can kind of expand as far as Niseko is concerned, but I know they're a little bit tighter, and more tourist attracted places tend to have a more strict gate access, and cutting ropes is you'll get your pass taken and even the cops called. But if you get into, I'm based in Furano for most of the year. And as far as Furano and central Hokkaido, a couple smaller resorts, Sohoro, Tamamu, Kamui, Asahidake. Those are all mountains that you can exit, cut under ropes, and you just really have to know where you're going. So again, it's really dependent on where you are, and definitely great to ask the right people to get that information before you get into a tight place. And then, I know Ben mentioned before, we'll kind of talk about what guides and where, but you definitely want to know where you're going. So exiting gates isn't always going to just send you down for a cruisy lap back to the resort or, back to the chairlift.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Zach said. I mean, the whole "it depends" is the answer to so many questions in Japan. The gray area is always part of the equation. If there's a rope that you don't duck, that's usually a safe bet. If there's a gate, that's usually a safe bet as far as not breaking rules of a ski area. But there, like Zach mentioned, there's a lot where you can just duck right under the rope in front of patrol with no worries. It's can't really have a guide of where that is or isn't okay. But a lot of times the ski patrol will have some basic English, if not English speaking patrol staff. And so that's a nice way to practice your Japanese or, and kind of ask those questions. And it's usually not going to get you in any trouble to ask before you do that stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Hope those answered those questions there. Leo, feel free to continue on. If anyone else has input on, why they, or, who they'd recommend to go with.
Man, I've got one too, just from previous trips. I think it really helps to have everyone aligned in kind of your objectives too. Backcountry versus resort are two very different things in Japan. And if half the group is into backcountry or backcountry curious and half the group isn't, it can lead to some different situations, and especially if people are then trying to pop into the side country. Hopefully everyone still brought beacons at that point and knows how to use them, but it is real backcountry in Japan. That is not a place they typically patrol like they do in the US, if you're popping out just from the resort.
Yeah.
I think the only other, sorry.
Go ahead, Izzy.
I think the only thing I'd add is just thinking about the group size with any backcountry travel, but just an international trip, it's enticing to say like your 8 best friends to go, but it makes things more complicated with transportation, lodging, all these things. So picking a group of 3 or 4, I think makes international travel a little bit easier, unless you're just have somebody who's, I'm going to take on the coordinating all the logistics.
I definitely agree with Izzy on that. A smaller group is definitely better than a bigger group when you're trying to, especially if you're like backcountry oriented, like in what you want to do there, because like you said, there isn't like the patrol here, like there at all, or patrol here isn't there at all. And you're not going to be able to just get like a heli back out of the backcountry, like, or whatever, like, a search party isn't going to come automatically like they would here, once you get to know that you're out there. And I mean, definitely know what you're doing, know where you're going, and get as much research as you can on it.
Yep. I think hiring great guides was a big part of, any great trip to a new place. I'm a guide in the summers, and I always tell people that if you're going to go to a new place, spend that money, hire a guide, don't just wander around. The knowledge that professional guides have is well worth the money that you can spend on people, especially when you're traveling to the other side of the planet to go somewhere. All right, you want to maximize everything. And these are the guys that are going to tell you where the best ramen shops are, where the best onsens are, where to, all the local knowledge, like, it's that stuff's priceless, so why even risk not finding those amazing places? It makes sense to make friends with these guys.
It was clutch having a guide. I mean, you just tell them what you want to do as far as riding, like what kind of zone you want to hit. Like if you want to hit those iconic Japan pillows, they know where they are. You don't have to go searching for them. And there's no beta online. There's like, you're not finding beta on the internet like you are for lines back in the States at all. Like it's just, if you're going to go there, get a guide. If you're going to be in the backcountry, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think
on resort, I would say that, to your point, Brendo, like, finding I think if I think about what is that like iconic Japan, is finding those tree jibs, those pillow lines, those like massive rainbows and whatnot. It's like, yeah, if you're only there for a few days, like, why not pay for a guide for one day, and you can have the rest of the trip to like, hit those zones again if you're on resort. But I think from a backcountry logistics standpoint, having tried to do Yotei, by the way, is like a massive volcano in Hokkaido. Trying to do, Yotei by myself, oh my gosh, it was hours research and figuring out where the trailhead was. Like, how the heck am I going to get to the trailhead? Am I even going to be able to get back to this? And just having some, it was definitely, worth it to have somebody who knows, okay, this is the exact spot. This is the exact drainage. This is the exact rib we're going to go up. It definitely was a game changer. So there was a question. Ken asked, if you get one chance, guided, resorts, both. Who wants to
Guided.
I'm
I'd say
gonna go with guided all day. Yeah, I'd say guided.
I'd say
both. Guided for sure.
Oh, both was an option. I choose both.
I choose both as well.
I wasn't clear on the question. It was between a guided day in the backcountry, like touring, or a resort day.
I guess that's backcountry. So we could kind of divert the question too. We could say, backcountry versus resort.
Backcountry.
Yeah, I mean, I get that question on a daily basis when I'm out there working, and I think it's really just dependent on snow conditions. When you're on resort, it's nothing like what we're used to in the States of if you're not there first chair, it's going to be tracked. Thankfully, maybe outside that peak period, like mid-Jan through mid-Feb, like definitely the hot time to be there just for overall snow quality. But again, getting back to that daily basis, like what's best. And I always say, we're always looking for the best quality snow for the day. So really focusing, if it just snowed, we can get hammer, laps on the resort, like no problem, and be able to get the best snow we can. But if it's been maybe 3 or 4 days since the last good refresh, it's really nice to go work for your turns and go backcountry and get outside a little bit more, even if you don't have too much experience. That's what the guides are there for.
Yeah, the other thing that I just want to add quickly about kind of the whole whether or not to hire a guide, it's like a classic time or money equation, right? So if you have limited time, the guide really can pay dividends. But we kind of mentioned like trying to get some tips for people doing a Japan trip on the cheap. And if that's the case, I'd say hire a guide early in your trip, because when I'm out with people for the day, I'll give them beta until I can't talk anymore. And I think that's like a really good way to kind of get ideas and brainstorm for the rest of your trip when you're going to be solo. So that's just kind of a quick sneak to get a bunch of information from someone that knows the area.
So yeah, to sum that up, the who's, I think it's, again, we can't emphasize enough. It's, have that discussion with the group, before you even, invite people. It might not just be a carte blanche. It might just be if you're going to be the glue that puts together the trip, just hire, ask specifically the people that can hang, or just straight up tell them, be like, look, you might get left. You might be out doing onsen stuff and finding a ramen shop while I go slay pow. Like it's, I think it's okay to have those discussions. Guides, I think Sam had a really great analogy there too. It's like, if you have the time, sure, maybe you can just spend a month and go explore, or spend all season, go explore, or, if you don't have the time, it's definitely worth it. There was a quick question that said, what was from Cam Huffy, said, what's the best method of travel? Rent a van, Now I would say that, so there's a couple tips there. Have to get a international driver's license. Japan is follows the rules very much, and almost they will invariably ask you to get that in order to drive. And the van piece, you know, depends on what international driver license you get. There are 8-person vans, 10-person, state by state varies on your driver's license with how big of a van that you can get. You know, if you're, I believe that there are kind of like, you know, like if you're looking to do kind of a van life kind of thing, you can find vans that are kitted out for that kind of stuff. You know, I would driving on the left, very easy, until you get to an intersection. And then you're just like there like a deer in the headlight, like, wait a minute, like, where am I supposed to be? You know, and so it's no, you know, first time I went there, I was scared to drive on the left-hand side, but after a while it gets pretty easy. If anything, you're going to screw up the turn signal and the turn signal and your windshield washer, you know, because the pedals are on the same side, but your lever, you know, all the stuff on the handles are not. And so that definitely got me screwed up for the whole time I was there. But generally speaking, I was not too afraid. Other than that one time we drove through a snowstorm and did a 360, but I stomped it. So, you know.
That was like right when we got the van on the first trip.
15 minutes in, full 360.
Was not a result of left-handed driving, by the way. It was just and you know, with GPSs these days, it definitely is easy to get your way around, you know. And so I actually highly recommend having your own vehicle if you can afford it, because you can go, you know, to experience the feeder towns where all the locals are. You can, you know, go and chase the powder if you want. So I definitely think, you know, as a pro tip, like worth getting a vehicle. What was the next section? When is the best? So, I mean, I think that, you know, I'm curious about, you know, Zach, you had mentioned, you know, that mid-January to mid-February was kind of an ideal time. You know, did you want to talk a little bit more about, you know, maybe what's the pros and cons of early season versus late season?
Yeah, so as far as early season, it's good because you get discounted rooms, far fewer people, but then you're just banking on, you know, when you got that flight maybe 3 months prior, that it's like been a good start to the season. So that's kind of the only thing that you're kind of just at the whim of any storms rolling in. Again, like peak season starts January 15th, and that's just when people start kind of flooding in. It's kind of been going back towards, you know, the start of January the last couple of years. So you can, you know, in years prior, again, there has been good start of seasons. And then pretty much January 10th through mid-Feb is just the coldest and most consistent storms throughout the season. And that's like the best bet to get the Japow that you've always seen or read or heard about. And then beyond that, like late Feb going into March, there'll be good storms. It's not quite as consistent, and there'll be some sunnier, longer days, which is good. But again, there can be those rapid warming events like we experienced this year. And it's just not as consistent. That's really the big thing.
Seems like it depends on your objective too, huh?
Yeah, and that's really, I mean, again, we'll kind of get into it further on, but if you know, the Japow's your full objective, you know, definitely that time. But if you're looking into more mountaineering or getting on top of a Sahidake or Yotei, there'd be some of those bigger weather windows, you know, a little bit in early spring. How do you feel, Sam?
Yeah, I agree with Zach. Especially, I mean, it's pretty well established that like that kind of mid-Jan and mid-Feb is the peak of the season. But that's also, I mean, that is when most folks choose to book the trip just because you're booking it in advance, right? You want to give yourself the best shot. Outside of that, I really think that the early season can be great. It's a bit more of a roll of the dice. With that, just to add a little to that though, I would avoid kind of the New Year's and week following, because that's a Japanese holiday. And especially if you're going to like the podunk Japanese resorts, at least around like Sapporo and places with more people, they're super busy. Maybe not the backcountry adjacent to them, but like lift ticket lines are crazy and lunch lines are crazy.
Just to clarify, Sam, you're talking Chinese New Year or American calendar New Year?
Calendar New Year. The Japanese usually have like New Year's Day and the following week off. So it's Japanese locals that are kind of all doing their skiing that week. And then the Chinese New Year is also an issue, but that's a bit more, I think, focused on like Niseko in particular, where they have bigger amounts of Chinese tourism. But I really like, Zach mentioned, like, as you get into the tail end of February, you can have those warming events, but that's kind of has been my favorite time, because all of a sudden it's like someone flips a switch and the peak season crowds drop off, and you can still score those, banner powder days before it really switches to spring. So that can be a really good time as well.
What about some of the team riders? Historically we went the first week of March. What did you guys think about the snow and what we were able to accomplish in that time? What were your guys' thoughts there?
Well, when we went last year, it was quite warm when we got there. They kind of had some low snow levels from February, but we were lucky. Like the first day we were there, we were able to summit Yotei, which if it had been snowing a bunch and was socked in, we wouldn't have been able to get up there. Snow conditions could have been very unstable. So we were actually really lucky to be able to summit that and get it first try, get basically bluebird skies on it, which is almost unheard of. I mean, whole way up, whole way down, we didn't get socked in at all.
Snow was sick in the crater too.
Oh yeah, snow was soft in the crater, and then it was like almost 6,000 foot corn run all the way down to the car. So really can't beat that.
Yeah, I would second Jeff's notions there. And just, it's obviously you go to Japan, for powder among other reasons, but even if it's late in the season, even if it's not snowing, that's an issue with your mindset. You just got to go, all right, well, it's not snowing. What should I do? Maybe, get into more splitboarding, mountaineering objectives. I mean, 6,000 vertical feet of volcano is not something I had ever done before. And it was rad. And it was by far the highlight of my trip. And I've ridden a lot of powder, and I could say that's up there in the top 10 things I've done on a split board, riding, where the powder was inside the volcano. So that again, that kind of experience is amazing. And it's just having to think outside the box a little bit. It's what got us there.
What about you, Brendo or Sean? You guys were there the year before, where we kind of chased snow. We left, the coast of, to go cat skiing and to go to some, crazy abandoned like place up in Taisei National Park, the Kiridake, so yeah, you want to talk about some of the experience of us chasing snow, for in that early March timeframe.
So the first year that we went, it was like that epic snow year that they were having in Japan to begin with, and it just kind of followed through into that off season. And we are very, very fortunate to have that for sure. Although it did rain like at lower elevations, like in Niseko at the lodge. And I believe that was the reason why we also skipped Shimamaki that year, was because of a lot of rain on the coast over there. But, I thought we were very fortunate for it, because we did get to go to Kiridake. And that is, I guess, like one of those resorts where you kind of do want a guide, to get down, because, it's only that you take a tram, a 2-person chairlift, and then you have to hike to the top to get the full run. But then again, and then there's like if your objective is to go there and film, like there's so many hits on the side of the road too, like to do. But compared to that, like 2 seasons ago, where they had like a little bit, where they didn't have as good of a season, we were definitely searching for the snow a lot more. But we are going to those higher elevations to do it, like Asahi Daki and all of that. But all in all, the snow quality was still pretty good. I was very happy you can't really complain about it. Also, seeing a new area is awesome. So
The
think for me,
exploration
going-
factor is huge. Oh, go ahead, Izzy.
I think going in March for me was pretty awesome in the sense that I work in the ski industry, and where I live, it's like January is when I'm going to work the most, January and February. And so leaving at that time is not great for my wallet. And then having the chance to go in March and still be able to ride, like, we had a couple days of not ideal conditions, but we rode corn and we rode POW, and I think it's just about kind of playing the game, but it's totally an option. Like, it's not like, oh, if you're busy in January, you can't go to Japan. I think that's
no, there's always something to do. Like
Yeah.
go sit on onsen for a day, you know.
Yeah.
Ramen and onsen.
Yeah, I've been lucky to be. I've been there from, and in December before, where it was just insane. It was just snowing every single day, getting like, fresh tracks going night riding at Niseko. Just from that period of, from dinner to the time I get back on the resort, it was like a foot. I was just, and just even getting, I don't even think the locals care about first chair there anymore. They're probably looking at those like foreigners being like, what are these guys doing a half an hour before the resort opens? Like, like there's so much snow. What's the point? So, and that was in December. But yeah, being able to, but again, we tried to do Yotei, got skunked, couldn't get on any high objectives, trying to get out in the backcountry was a little bit challenging because visibility was constantly, it was just really tough to see even out the gates. It was really kind of scary, heading out. This was, I had one instance in the Seiko where we get up at the top and it was just like, yeah, I have no idea which way is which. I knew roughly like, okay, the resort is back that way, but it was kind of crazy, another, great, that time we didn't have a guide. That was when I ended up in the middle of a field somewhere. And that was no fun. It was quite an adventure, great story, but definitely not something I'd want to, bring my wife to or something like that. But yeah, so, and then later on, yeah, so yeah, I mean, to some, don't forget people too, Chinese New Year is variable. So don't forget, like, you do need to look into that. It is the big resorts that a lot of the Chinese tourists go to. I think Niseko is a big one. If you're, I don't know, it's kind of picking up, but I think it's just that one Sheraton resort, but I would highly, highly recommend that, on the Wynn, it's, I know you're constantly playing this balance game between when is the best time to go, versus flexibility, and, it goes back a little bit to the who too, that you're going with. If you want to just chase snow, you are going to be challenging yourself on the reservation side. You might not be able to, it might be really difficult to book, the lodging that you want. Even restaurants are taking bookings months in advance, especially around the peak season. And if you do go to, say, a Niseko, during peak season, you probably want to book everything out, and then you might need to just abandon it if you really want to just chase snow. But, even restaurants, even if you don't rent a car, even the shuttles book out quickly too. So there's a lot of things that the Japanese are very, very well planned. And if you just show up to some of these busier resorts during, peak season, like even getting into restaurants, but it can be challenging. So the next thing, where, I think that's really the beta that I think everybody's like, one of the big things, oh, where should I go? Where, to go ride, there's quite a few different areas. And I think you can generally categorize, Sam had mentioned too, and there's one thing that I think is super unique about Japan is they do have these kind of smaller resorts. If you're local to Colorado, it's kind of like the difference between like an A Basin versus like a Vail, or like a Silverton, as in the case of like Hirodake, in my opinion, versus, a Breckenridge. It's like it's kind of, what is that experience that you guys are really looking to get? I honestly, with it, sometimes it is nice to have everything, taken care of, the lodging, good restaurants, people that speak English. I may look Asian. I'm actually Chinese American. I don't speak Japanese. It is hard sometimes when you go into those local towns, just trying to point at stuff. Google Translate is like your absolute best friend out there. And so, there's the pros and cons of trying to keep it super local, plus is the conveniences of going to a place that can speak, English, and has the amenities that you want. Again, a lot of depends on the group dynamics and whatnot, but for the, for maybe Zach and Sam, what are some of like the bigger, the bigger areas, the equivalents of like the Breck and the Vales that have like massive cities close to, that if you didn't want to rent a car, like you could probably get by with having your lodging, your food, and your mountain in the same place?
Yeah, as far as that goes, again, it's just like you were saying, depends on what you're looking for. And just for example, like in Hokkaido, Niseko might be that spot where you can get away with not having a vehicle. They even have taxis there. You can ski from the resort, go to 20 different restaurant options, and then walk straight to your, one of 150 hotels there. And then also in like choosing where you want to go, also like going into central Hokkaido, like Furano or Asahidake, like far less westernized and more local feel, smaller ski areas. You definitely want your own vehicle, but it's really just, again, working with your crew to choose what kind of experience you want to get. If you do want to have that big nightlife, Niseko's sweet, but if you want to, be in bed by 9 o'clock so you can slay pow and get, fed by an amazing local family, like Furano or Central Hokkaido, in my eyes, is like a great spot.
Yeah, and I think as far as where to go, it does kind of come down to your transportation, with the exception of Niseko probably, and to a lesser extent Furano. I wouldn't recommend doing Hokkaido without wheels. It's just kind of too spread out, and too much of the fun is checking out all the different resorts and zones. I've done one trip, a personal trip to Honshu, and did the Hakuba Valley and kind of Nagano area, and I found that to be a lot more connected with public transport, especially the Hakuba Valley. But yeah, if you really want to chase snow in Hokkaido, there's quite a bit of distance to cover, and having wheels is the way to go. And this is kind of more on the pro tip side, but it's kind of relevant here too. I think when you do have wheels, staying further from the actual skiing is not a bad call to save a few bucks. When I went on a personal trip to Japan for the first time, we stayed in places like Sapporo or Otaru or Saikawa, like bigger cities with cheaper accommodations, and you're really only an extra maybe 20-30 minute drive from the trailhead, and you're saving hundreds of dollars a night, especially when you compare it to Niseko prices. You can get to Niseko in an hour and a half from a place like Otaru, and spend a fraction on accommodations.
Yeah, I've had a really cool time in Otaru as well. It was pretty rad. Cool little seaside village. Fun little tiny resort right there, but you can still access some bigger.
Yeah, Otaru is, so that's one of my favorite cities. It's like the culinary hotspot, the sushi capital of Japan. So there's a lot of really cool cultural things to check out there.
Yeah, I would second too, Hakuba, from ease of getting around to all the different places, Hakuba, is similar, Niseko is, in my mind, Niseko is kind of like the way Breckenridge is. It's got like, these different bases that kind of have like kind of different, well, I guess Breckenridge is kind of a bad example, but it's kind of like every base, even though the mountain's connected, every base is kind of its own unique thing. In Hakuba, it's like I forgot how many resorts that are actually make up the Hakuba Valley. I think there's like 5 main ones, and like, there's another like 3 or 4 that are just like side resorts that are part of it too. But one thing that's kind of interesting though too is like with Honshu, the terrain in central, they call it the Japanese Alps. It's like there's some gnarly terrain. If you're able and capable of getting out the gates, just, oh my gosh, like puckering stuff. Whereas up in Hokkaido, yeah, sure, you can find some pretty gnarly terrain, but by and large, you're there for these kind of more wide open, the deep POW. So, I think back to it depends. If you're looking for those like big scary lines, definitely don't sleep on central Japan, because they are there. Zach, did you want to add anything when it came to this particular topic of
No, I mean, I think again what Sam was saying, it really just kind of depends on what the group is looking for, and I think there's enough resources out there online to kind of see if you do want that nightlife feel. I mean, I'm kind of, again, speaking as far as Hokkaido goes, super familiar with that, but Niseko, again, like the nightlife, or if you do want just skiing and food and maybe even hut-based trips for a few nights, like I think there's some really good resources to maybe kind of narrow that down.
What's up with Kurodake? Anybody want to chime in there? I know, Brendan, you had mentioned that a little bit.
Kurodake, like that run top to bottom has like everything you could want in Japan. Like seriously, like you get up and when you summit, you're on this gnarly ridge line, where this like it just drops off the backside like 200 feet, 300-foot cliff, and then you're just riding this nice powder up top, and then you slowly get down into like that traditional like Japanese like birch, and then all of a sudden you're down into pines and you're riding pines out, and it's top to bottom run. That was one of my favorite runs in Japan, all in all. And you wouldn't think like, that's not like your traditional resort, like I said, you take a tram up that runs like every 15 minutes or something like that, or maybe even less than that. And then that resort only had a 2-person chairlift. And it only took you halfway up the mountain, so you had to skin another 45 minutes to summit it. But that was an unreal mountain to be able to ride down, and that was up until Yotei. That was probably one of the longest runs I did on a snowboard. And then we did Yotei, and Yotei was just like, it seemed like you were snowboarding forever. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I would really suggest going to a place like Kurodake. Just the zones around it are really cool too. Like that was where we went and hit those like pillows like right on the side of the road, and that whole zone, and where that like tree shot was in the beginning too. And just that's definitely a place that you got to check out for sure.
Yeah, that was Clay's spot at Hokkaido back. I think he almost made us put on some masks before we showed up there. Well, oh man, there's this spot. Okay.
We get out and there's these signs that say no skiing or snowboarding, and then like
that was the other side.
Oh yeah, the other side. Yeah, the other side. And it was just
That place was really cool. Definitely a backcountry only kind of place. Don't take your friends there that want to go resort skiing for sure. But it was a blast. Really cool. You get to summit. The rundown, as Brennan expressed, was killer. You basically exit at a little Japanese temple, which is cool.
That was awesome. Out about that.
And on top of that, too, I would say, though, that is definitely a place where I would be much more on the side of bring a guide than don't, because the exit is like, talk about getting cliffed out. You're probably looking at 200 to 300 foot drops in a lot of places. So
Yeah, I think we rolled. Yeah, that was. We're very lucky. Yeah, that was.
It's right. Clay was just like, yeah, you go up here, then you go down this way, and if you're in this valley, you're wrong.
Yep. Okay, I guess we're going that way. Well, what about Asahi Daki?
Sorry. Just to elaborate a little bit on Kirodake, it's almost smack dab central Hokkaido. Asahikawa is the second biggest city, and it's just about an hour away, just an hour east. And the month of January, the tram is closed for lift maintenance. And in February, the entire month, this small double chair that feeds pretty much just green terrain on like a hot, pretty much what seems like a hanging otter body or, pretty tame terrain. And then everything around that, or what the tram brings you up, is just, pretty much classified extreme terrain or double black, just because access is pretty difficult. Egress or your down track has to be, thread the needle for sure. Great skiing, phenomenal place, definitely quiet location, famous onsen at the bottom, and magical place.
So what about Asahi Dake? Now, that was what was Izzy, you were there at that one, right?
Yeah, that was probably the most intense whiteout I've ever ridden. I just remember it was like if you were more than 20 feet behind the person, you're like, I can't see him.
Yeah, Leo was in a bright blue jacket.
Super low key tramway and cool terrain, like riding all those gullies and everything. It was awesome to have Zach, what's your buddy's? Greg, right? That's his name?
Greg.
Yeah, Greg was a fun dude to follow around there as well. And we got to see that awesome waterfall on the way. So that whole day was pretty cool to me. I'd like to go back.
Yeah, that pic that Jeff in the beginning. I don't know if I forgot where that was, but
It was like on the road up there, I think, right?
Yeah, just a valley south of the road up to Asahi.
Yeah, probably one of my favorite photos I've ever made. So thanks for bringing me up there, Zach. And yeah, it was just a great time up there. Great snow. I'd love to ride the terrain again with being able to see a little better, but we still made the best of it. It was such an awesome time.
I just remember my eyeballs felt tired from opening them so wide. I was like,
That was that's still considered Taitsetsuzen, right?
Yep, Daisetsuzan National Park, and that's pretty much Kirodake's that northern piece of it, and then it goes all the way just south of Furano Dake, which is separate of Furano ski area, but it's just a high range of mountains north to south in central Hokkaido.
Yeah, and that Daisetsuzan means like big mountains with snow or something like that. I'm sure it's probably more artistic. Big ass snowy motherfucking mountains. That's what it really means. Check with Google Translate. Serious. So that what's up with so those are some of the more outlier kind of ones. Shimamaki, that one was a really cool zone if you ask me. Maybe Sam, you can talk about Shima because that's just Hokkaido Backcountry Club, right?
Yeah, so Shimamaki is currently cat skiing only. We, at least the guides have been pushing to get like touring, cat access touring there as well. But right now it's cat skiing only, so mechanized. But it's about a 2-hour drive from Niseko. And yeah, it's one of those places just like totally authentic Japan. You're the only Westerners in town. It's so I live in Alaska for the rest of the year, and it's definitely similar, like a sleepy fishing town. There's just nothing going on there in the winter except you and the group that you're skiing with. And I think at the start we kind of, maybe it was before the call, but we mentioned one of the onsens there is right on the ocean. So your accommodation's either right across from the cat or right on the ocean. It's just like, it's a really cool spot. And definitely if you're especially if you like cat skiing, it's on par with anywhere else to go cat skiing in the world.
Yeah, I think we got super lucky this year and caught that at like just right after like a huge storm, and it was like, oh my gosh, the terrain was like, for Hokkaido especially too, it was like steep. There was so much, so it was really, really something else. I think we were able to hammer out like, oh man, I think it was like 11 runs or something. I don't remember exactly. Zach, you remember how many? We pounded out a lot of laps. It was
Yeah, I
pretty,
think we like tied this year's record at 11 or 12 like in
Yeah.
one
Nice.
day. But I mean, yeah, amazing terrain, just like you're saying.
the possibilities just seem like endless there too. Yeah. So I mean, if people can afford it, it was definitely worth it. So okay, a quick question. Charlie asked, "What's our opinion on all-inclusive guide trips?" I'll refer,
Yeah, I'm typing out an answer right now. I mean, I think it's great if you're not looking to deal with logistics, if you don't want to drive, maybe if it's just you and one other, or even a single person. There's so many options out there with different companies that cater to, the first time powder skier, or if, entry level split board trips, working up to, advanced split board only or, backcountry only trips. And then obviously everything else in between. But I think it's great, again, for if you don't want to deal with logistics, you have a chauffeur every single day, it's definitely a bit pricier, but, you get driven to your accommodation, dinners are dealt with, and you can just kind of be there and fully immerse yourself for those moments in Japan.
Yeah, I
Sean.
think.
Okay, go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So when I have kind of my shoulder season is in the fall, and that's kind of when I have a couple months off where I'm not working, and I've just started saving my money and doing all inclusive trips, either for fishing or whatever I end up doing. And it's a huge expense for me, but man, it's like you really realize the value, and you just show up and everything else is taken care of, like Zach said. And I think that if you're only going for a week and change or something like that, and maybe, you're dealing with like normal, conventional job where you have 3 weeks of vacation a year, 4 weeks vacation a year, like it really pays dividends to spend that extra money and have everything just sort of plug and play.
Sean, you've done both. What's your thoughts there? Pros and cons of each one.
Man, pros and cons. That's tough. Like, I don't know, to be honest.
I mean, I can see some cons that, first come up to me with obviously running them through the summer, doing mountain bike tours, all inclusive, and obviously in Japan. Some downfalls, obviously higher cost, and depending if it is like that mixed group of maybe 8, you could, get in line with people. There's always, like the slower or faster person out of a group of 8. So that can be kind of tough to deal with, but it's all kind of up to the guy to make good decisions there. And it's maybe more of a set itinerary, and if you have like personal goals to like go ski somewhere, that might can't always be accommodated.
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely a big difference like between a private trip with just people that you're on the trip with and a mixed group. For that reason, like it's way easier to deal with your one buddy that you've been friends with your whole life that's slow, and tell him that he's got to sit this next run out versus a stranger or something like that. So that dynamic can be challenging. But if you can find people to go with, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I guess that does spark some memories too. I mean, in terms of all inclusive versus kind of planning my own, it's on one side with on your own, it truly is kind of like do whatever you want, go wherever you want. You're much more free to follow your whims a little bit. And I've had some pretty fun adventures. whether it's, random wandering around through Otaru in the middle of the night trying to find a place that was open in the middle of Chinese New Year or Japanese New Year. That was an experience in itself. I could talk for a while on that one. But I had some really cool cultural pieces come out of it. Whereas when it's been a little bit more planned, it's been much more kind of shred focused, and slightly less on the cultural side. But my experiences on the shredding side were a lot higher. So I think that was kind of where it came in for me. Was one side I got a little bit more of the cultural mix, and the other was a little bit more, pow slaying heavy.
Yeah, I think having done, I remember that first time we went too, where we got in and there was one part of the trip where it wasn't, we didn't have a guide. It wasn't really totally planned. And this was just on picking the terrain, trying to make decisions like as a big group, on what we're going to do, albeit coming off of jet lag and all this stuff and everybody just, being totally zonked and zombied, like sometimes to just, go into autopilot mode with like an all-inclusive everything was, it's kind of nice. You don't have to, make those decisions. You don't have to try to figure out, okay, what are we going to do for this or that? And even in the planning section too, like sometimes it can be quite a bit bare, it brings back that first question of who do you go with? In terms of as you're going through it, you're like, all these little intricacies of this dream trip that you've thought out, all of a sudden people are like, hey, can we change up this? Whereas if it's like, hey guys, here's the plan. If you're not down with this, like, don't go, and it definitely makes it a little bit easier to kind of like, mitigate the whole everybody trying to build their own dream trip kind of thing too. And it does, it will ultimately lead to some conflicts, in trying to figure out, oh, okay, are we resort based? Are we backcountry based? Are we chasing POW? Are we chasing luxury? And so it does kind of help to weed out, and keep everybody on the same, because at the end of the day, if you're looking to have a good time, the last thing you want to do is get into an argument about which direction you're supposed to be going in somewhere, so having that chauffeur is definitely, I think is a huge, huge plus. Hopefully that answers that question. What is our topic on? Where? Okay, yes. So, Hokkaido, pros and cons of, just to sum that piece up. Hokkaido, great snow. Honshu, great terrain. Hey, maybe we can just do a rapid fire quick question here for our resident guides here. In terms of region or mountain, best nightlife. Go.
I wouldn't know. I'm usually in bed by like 9 p.m.
Sapporo for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Susukino in Sapporo is really fun.
Yeah.
Casinos.
Susukino. It's like the Times Square of Sapporo.
Okay. Best. Let's think here. What's the best? I know we covered off a little bit on it, but what's like the best resort town? Easiest, convenient resort town.
I like Furano the best, honestly. I think Niseko is kind of until they upgrade their lift infrastructure, the actual resort in Niseko is kind of a bit of a bottleneck. And I've had some incredible days in Furano on some storm days.
Yeah, and as far as resort town, obviously super familiar with Furano and the whole central Hokkaido, like 8 resorts around there. But Furano takes the cake for me for just infrastructure in all the right places and, pretty small tourist vibe if you can hit the right days, and just that amount of skiing in the terrain is just phenomenal.
I would have to I thought Hakuba for the resort was definitely worth it. It's so convenient. We stayed at Hapa 1 and it was, oh my gosh, this rain there was just insane. Best, what about stash spot that you're willing to, the best kept secret best kept secret that you're not willing to let be a less secret. Yeah, we've only got about 40, 45 participants here, so it's not going to blow up the spot.
Man, I know Tokashi Daki is blowing up, but as far as backcountry and going up the highest service access road of all of Hokkaido, that just opens up a plethora of alpine terrain. And I know it's kind of, more people are learning about it, and the onsens up there are phenomenal, but I think it's still a bit of a secret, and that, in my eyes is just a magical place.
Yeah, I'd say in the Niseko zone, Shiribetsu Dake, which is the mountain that we do our heli ski program on. It's pretty, it's fairly public. You can go up there and get great skiing. It's some of the steepest terrain in kind of the Niseko area. And yeah, I feel safe sharing that one.
What about from the team guys, of the places that you guys went, the number one place that you would be like, don't miss that one?
Yotei.
Natural hot springs. Man, that was killer. Just outside Niseko. I'd have to look at the map though. I can maybe pull it up if anyone's actually curious. But I would say just talk to Hokkaido Backcountry Club. They can steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's Chisenapuri, I think what you're thinking of, Sean.
Yep.
Which is like 20 minutes outside of Niseko.
Over by Moiwa there.
That zone over by that onsen is just awesome up above it too.
Yeah.
It was
so we have like a smaller cat ski operation there at the abandoned Chisenapuri ski area.
Yeah.
And then just adjacent to that is the natural hot spring you're talking about, which is pretty sweet. Although getting in and out of it is, is an art form. And then above that is actually Chisenapuri, the peak, which is kind of more of an alpine objective when you have the weather.
Yeah, we were able to combine it pretty nicely, where it's like skin on up, shred on down, and then getting in and out is a thing. I think I mentioned in my chat, my ninja suit hasn't smelled quite right since completely.
Yeah.
So.
I've heard bring a tarp to help get out of the mud. Like
I was just about to say that. Sandy was with us that day with you guys, and he had a tarp in his pack.
Nice.
And we put that out. So that was like that was an experience.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out some awesome footage of a bunch of naked guys pow surfing into a hot spring, make sure you check out the video on our Facebook page of our season edit from Japan.
Yep, specifically Brendan's butt.
Jeff, number one spot, Kepler.
I would say Shimamaki was number one spot. We didn't necessarily have the snow we wanted, but just the terrain there and the place we stayed. I got in an onsen, watched the sunrise over the ocean, just unbelievable. So I'd say Shimamaki, nice and slow, and just a great spot. So.
Izzy?
I'm a toss up between Shimamaki and Furano. Shimamaki's definitely got that just kind of wild feel looking out at the ocean. So if you have the opportunity to go cat skiing there, that's probably one you shouldn't pass up.
All right. Well, I think that was so funny. So
Brendan's back just in time to discuss things.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm back. I'm gonna go back to like central Hokkaido to like the Kurodake and Furano area. That was some of the best snow there in general on both trips actually. So that was probably my favorite spot. And just the culture in those areas were a lot smaller and not city-like at all, more rural. It was cool to see. I felt like you got to see like the true culture of Japan more in central Hokkaido than you do like going to like Sapporo or anything like that, or even like Niseko.
what about place that you would want to go explore that you think might be worth visiting? Where would you go next? How about that?
In Japan or in general?
In Japan.
Hakuba. I want to check out Hakuba.
I second that.
Third on that.
I'd
I
go
want-
back to Kurodake.
Yeah.
There looks to be some sick ice climbing around there as well. If anybody's
Oh,
looking
that's
for Japanese ice climbing.
Pat, we can't see your beautiful face.
My webcam doesn't work. Sorry.
Man, after exploring all around Hokkaido, there's so many hidden spots. And this year, especially, I got to go to see what are the highest passes are still serviced, and expanded so much terrain for White Room, along with a little bit of a secret, but it's tough to get to anyways. But right on the west coast, central west coast of Hokkaido, Shokanbetsu Dake, and it's a big spring spot, and there's a hut at the bottom, and it's like the biggest AK faces and biggest open ski terrain that I've seen, like, in all of Hokkaido.
Sick.
So that's where we're going this
Yeah.
year.
Okay. Yeah, I've been wanting to check out that Kane place, that resort, that Clay, he was always talking. It's like right outside of Sapporo or something. We drove by it. I really like that spot. That what was that place that that we saw the snowmobilers, and there was that like little kind of steep line. Zach, you remember? It was right off the resort. Like, it was some weird name. I forgot what it was called.
Man, too many spots for me.
I was about to say very Japanese sounding, but that's the worst possible explanation of where AK face is.
Oh, Kororo.
Yeah. I thought that whole side country there had.
Oh yeah, that's.
Oh my gosh, there was so much there. I was just super, super shocked.
Yeah, and that's the backcountry zone just south of the resort of Kororo, and it's expansive.
Yeah, Kiroro. Yeah. So all right. So what was the next topic here that we had? I thought it'd come up real quick. What to bring? That's a good question. Personally, I think if you've never traveled internationally before, figuring out a way to have those, use your split, if you're bringing a split and a solid, to use your same bindings. Cause for me, like all my backcountry gear, and I am just, with two boards, like I'm always right at the weight limit there. So I think again, we've been talking a lot about just kind of like, all the backcountry stuff. You can definitely rent a lot of that stuff out there when you get there, which is always, but for, when it comes to gear, I'm a big advocate of, use your own stuff because you know how it works. Last thing you want to do is get into a situation and then be on some gear that you're not familiar with, when it especially becomes with that. This is something that is that some people have. I didn't know this, but apparently, the radios, our Western radios, are like run off of some frequency that we're not supposed to be on or something like that. I don't know the exact technical thing, but they work, but they are technically not supposed to bring walkie-talkies and stuff like that. Those kind of radios there. And what not to bring too, like, Japan is very strict. I mean, I guess if you want to try to roll the dice, they are extremely strict when it comes to drugs. And so, edibles or just trying to smuggle in any sort of weed, probably not the best idea.
Definitely do not.
Yeah, would highly recommend.
People go to jail for it, so it's not the time.
Yeah, definitely just, booze up or whatever, definitely not the place to try to do it. So I don't know if do you guys have, based on, even the power, I think we could use from coming from the States, all the power cords were fine, but everybody had those, like, they're all like 2-prongs. So it's like if you have a 3-prong anything, to bring a 3-2 was super important,
I know what you're smiling about.
What are you talking about? I didn't accidentally eat some edibles, but yeah. Is there any gear? Anybody have any specific gear suggestions or tips that they want to pass on?
Some things, definitely weigh your bag before you go in. Like you got a 50-pound weight limit and they start charging you past that. So I just try to pack everything in my snowboard bag I can, with like my bindings, boards, outerwear, on my beacon probe shovel, get it in there. Expect it to get searched when you're over there as well. On the way back, I definitely got mine searched. It's just the way it is. My dad goes on diving trips. He says that happens all the time. You got a bunch of stuff in a bag, they're gonna tear it apart. I brought a bunch of camera gear, and always with my camera gear, I bring that on my carry-on. I never check that because I've had bags lost. When I went to India, I had a bag that I didn't see for at least a week. And, with expensive stuff like that, just bring it with you. Also expect to get it searched. I had like tripods and stuff they thought looked kind of weird, so they had to pull it out, check everything out.
They look like toys, didn't they, Jeff?
That was my foam roll, or my rolling stick for like sore muscles. But yeah, the lady had to pull that out and measure it and stuff. It was kind of awkward, but good experience there.
Solid 12 inches.
He was impressed, to say the least.
Let's speaking of pro tips, let's just move on to the next category. In terms of things that we might think that are, things that might not be so obviously addressed, and I can, we can potentially go on. I know, we haven't really given people the food beta. So I think that might be an interesting one if anybody wants to talk about what kind of some of the places, some must check outs. We've talked a lot about a lot of the mountain stuff, where to go, when to go, how to get there. But what about some of like the cultural stuff there? We got to talk about Lawson's.
Lawson's,
we can't
7-Eleven, Family Mart,
the moment we've been waiting for.
Yeah. Don't sleep on the convenience stores. You can, if you're looking for a cheap way, you will probably be able to enjoy yourself thoroughly. I think we did like a whole year. I was getting new stuff every single day. Just like, what's this random dried squid?
Cool.
Best thing from Lawson's. Go.
Ooh.
Chicken fingers
filled with syrup.
Not the dried squid.
Red chicken.
Oh my god, that was so gnarly.
And chicken cutlet sandwich.
Yeah,
Pork
I was gonna
cutlet
say
sandwich.
the chicken katsu from there is always good. Like the ready to eat foods there are on point.
What was that drink? It's called like Sweat or something.
Oh,
Bacardi.
Bacardi Sweat.
Bacardi Sweat, yeah.
Good stuff.
Stuff's delicious.
Yeah, pro tip, get Bacardi Sweat. You need that.
Yeah.
The rice
and make
balls.
up some random story
Rice
about what
balls.
Picari is, and convince your entire group what the Picari is.
There's also flavors of haichu that you've never experienced.
My god, the high chews are the best. If you're looking to experience different candy, gummies specifically, Japan is the place to be. Chocolate as well, gummies and chocolate. They love that stuff there.
Yep.
And it was just those lemon high chews with the flavor crystals were incredible.
Potatoes, Hokkaido potato. So those are, if you get potato chips on all of the Northern Island, are just like incredible. The Furano chips over in Sapporo, oh my gosh. Lawson's egg
The shirt
salad.
you're wearing right now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The Hokkaido potato, the border one, by the way. That's shout out to Henry. Thanks for finding that.
I think the other food I would highly recommend is a sushi train. If you've never experienced a sushi train and how you just pull, all the plates that you want as they come by, and then they come by and scan your plates and it counts them all up. It's amazing. I wish we had more sushi trains around here.
And then you're competing with your buddy next to you to see who can get the bigger stack of plates too.
Yep.
So
And always sit on the left. That way you get first pick of all the sushi that comes by.
And never eat sea urchin. Right, Ben?
Yeah. Yeah, I ate a lot of things that didn't.
Even pro tip, ask for the Japanese menu and start pointing at some random stuff.
Yup.
Like food roulette.
If you're looking to get out there and try some different food, it's definitely the place to be. I mean, we had that one, I can't remember what the name of the restaurant was that we went to in Ferrano, where they brought out that big pot of soup. I'm sure Zach remembers.
Yes.
But we had bear, venison, like everything there, and it was incredible.
Another
Like,
reason to
just-
hire a guide, because we
Yeah.
never would have found these places. Like one of the places we walked down this back alley,
Oh my
you
God.
know, and like Paul was like, "Oh
It was
yeah, like come in
so
here."
good.
And, like we sat down, it was like this, like crazy. It looked like we went back 200 years, and we're having a traditional Japanese dinner in this speakeasy. It was, you know, one of the most amazing experiences of the trip.
With a
was
huge pot of hot sake in the middle of it.
Yeah.
That was awesome. The meal at the Shimamaki Onsen, because the onsen was owned by that family, you had a home cooked meal from those people every night, and it was incredible.
Yeah,
And it was just
that
like-
was what true like fancy Japanese food is. It's interesting
That-
how sushi is actually like, you know, the equivalent of like getting, you know, going out for
Yeah.
burgers like in America.
No, yeah, and
But,
that
but
was
that kind of like variety. I forgot what they called those things, but yeah, they have these things called izakayas that are just kind of like the diners of Japan. And just generally speaking, I don't think you can go wrong with food. Like the Japanese are like so you know, they care so much about the quality of everything that they do, and that's why I think you can't even go wrong with the convenience store. So
No,
let's see what's next on the pro tip topic. Avi barriers, got to talk about Avi barriers. What's the deal with the Avi barriers?
I mean, the first year we went out, we got yelled at for hitting them.
Yeah,
But, I mean, it's kind of like a hit at your own risk. I mean, I don't
I
think
think
they like it.
I agree. I think it just, you know, if you see something cool, hike it, hit it, quit it.
Yeah, that was the beautiful thing about Japan is, like I said, like you'll be driving down the road and you'll just see these pillow lines or something super aesthetic, like out of nowhere, and it's just like a small boot pack up the side of the hill. So why not, you know?
Yeah, totally. And and as long as you can find a good parking, or you just have the designated driver just cruise around, like, yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. What other pro tips do we got here?
That is definitely Jacob sort of.
I feel like most of ours are related to food.
A
Well,
couple
we
things
have
I
a
thought
few
of.
minutes left. Let's talk about the onsets. You know, so we do have we did have a couple other areas when it came to. Actually, Alistair chimed in here too. He said, I think this is really good. Like if you stop in, if you get into like say Tokyo or something like that, to like ship your board around, if you are going, you know, it's difficult. If you plan on going to Tokyo, don't bring a board bag. I would say that is a pro tip. I tried to do it, try to get on a train with a snowboard bag during rush hour. Good luck. You're going to get the worst amount of looks. So if you can ship your stuff around, you know, from hotel to hotel, that is huge. Props. Thanks for that tip, Alistair.
That's smart. Pat,
Yeah.
you remember doing that on our first trip to Tokyo? It was like 4 of us getting on a packed train with like armed to the teeth with baggage.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tall, pale dude stands out pretty hard in the subway.
It is already. So,
Were you guys part of the crew that went to see the Imperial Palace but ended up taking pictures in front of the train station because you guys thought it was the palace?
Correct.
Maybe. That probably was us.
Zach Griffin argued with me all the way to the Imperial Palace, and I was like,
Didn't look very
that
imperial.
is not the palace. It's a train
didn't. It
station. They're like, no, we took
definitely looked more
photos
like
in front of it.
That's hilarious.
That happened. That really happened.
Hey, what
Yeah.
up, Zach?
So yeah, I mean, let's see here. What other kind of big tips? You know, we're a little bit low here. Onsens, you know, I mean, we can definitely, if anything pops up in terms of what some quick tips.
Bring it
Oh yeah, I was gonna say if you have a tattoo, it's good to call or at least to try and figure out what onsens don't really care about it, because some do. You know, out there they find it disrespectful or related to gangs.
Yeah. Onsen,
I've-
yeah, mostly co-ed. So no, not co-ed. So it's like, you know, you're not, you know, it's like, yeah, it's separate, you know, but they are all nude.
Be careful when you're having a snowball fight between the girl side and the guy side.
This is not for this. This is for this.
Good old privacy towel.
Yeah.
This is the best souvenirs you'll ever find.
Not to be confused with the small towel they give you for washing. That one stays away from the pool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I think if, you know, so we probably have to fly through with the Yotei, and, you know, we'll share this presentation with everybody. If you guys have any questions, you know, with this, you know, because, you know, Yotei, and then, you know, we did have a little section for this really cool place called Rashiri that Zach had went to, but I highly recommend that, you know, these places like Yotei, there's so much terrain. You know, Zach is a guide with White Room Tours. Definitely go check those guys out. You know, Sam is a guide for Hokkaido Backcountry Club. You know, these guides are, you know, a great resource. You know, they're usually really willing to answer any questions that you may have, and, you know, just out of just wanting to keep people stoked. And, you know, obviously if you guys can, and, you know, it's definitely worth it to go, you know, check out these guide ops. You know, they build up a lot of experience that's more than just, you know, showing you the POW. But I think that, you know, pretty much comes to the end of our time here. You know, definitely want to thank everybody. I'm trying to think. I feel like I was like missing something here, but you know, but again, you know, we're always down to answer questions. You know, we'll have this presentation posted up. I'm not quite sure. Ben, you want to kind of take this out here? Then?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, with Yotei, I don't know that we need to end right now. We've only got a few more minutes. We can easily discuss Yotei quickly. You know, Yotei is a 6,000-foot plus volcano right outside of Niseko. And again, we kind of mentioned it a few times here. But the photo that you guys can see right now is you know, some of the only powder we found one year when we went kind of late. Leo even liked riding this powder so much he got 2 laps on the inside crater of a volcano.
Yeah, Leo.
High speed quads.
But again, this is, you know, certainly a trip that I would recommend hiring a guide for, like Leo mentioned. It's about 7 miles up, you know, and it took us, I believe, 7 hours. I thought it was 6, but maybe I wasn't moving as fast as I thought I was. And we trucked. I mean, we stopped 5 minutes every hour, you know, and that was it. And then we hoofed it up there, but it was, you know, again, one of the most amazing experiences. Anyone else have any comments on Yotei?
Took me 4 attempts to finally summit that thing, whether it be weather, whether it be partners, you know, mostly weather and partners were the two that kind of stunted it. But, you know, yeah, it's definitely, you know, that was kind of one of those big objectives. That's just, I think and it's really not even that difficult, especially if you're coming from sea level, or not sea level, from a high altitude state like Colorado. I think it was pretty good, you know, I don't know. So, but it was great.
If you have ski crampons, that would be a piece of gear that I'd recommend bringing if Yotei is on your list. You might not even need to boot if you've got that tool.
Yeah.
If you're gonna boost that cornice, have somebody slingshot you in from the top.
Right.
And bring a puffy if you're gonna shoot some video or shoot some photos, because it's cold up there for sure.
Right.
So, waiting for that jump.
Yeah.
Just
So, you know, we'll go ahead and we'll
shy.
keep on extending out, but, you know, just for anybody that you know has to check out at 7:30, you know, make sure, you know, thanks so much, Weston team. We're going to stay on for another, you know, let Zach, that way we can get to Rashiri. But, you know, definitely check us out, you know, Weston Backcountry, check out White Room, check out Hokkaido Backcountry Club. Awesome. great guides. And, go to Japan and feel free to ask us questions anytime. Don't forget about our area fundraiser. We have a few boards that we are, they were hurt in the area is a nonprofit that does, avalanche education. They create all the curriculum for us to keep us safe out there. Be sure to check out our website and go help them support that. We still have that fundraiser going on. So once again, if you have to sign out, feel free to join us at Hokkaido Split Fest. But we are going to stick around and get make sure we can kind of get that beta on Rashida. I'm very curious to hear about it. But this was a really cool event that we did last year. This season. It was the first one. Hopefully we'll have it again next season. Joining us mid-March. There was a lot of great organizations there. Split Fests are just blowing up. Great way to meet community. That's what Weston's all about, promoting the community. So, much thanks to everybody that participated. Stick around if you want to hear more about the trip to Rashiri. So with that, Zach, do you want to talk about this is like the next level of like, okay, I've done the resort, I've done the backcountry, now what?
This is definitely kind of like the next step in exploring Japan, going a little bit far and wider to touch some, bigger mountains. This is located just about 30 miles off the northwest tip of Hokkaido. It's either a 2-hour, I think once daily flight from Sapporo, or a about 3-hour ferry ride from Sapporo. So great area getting there. There's some other photos, if you go online, but again, it's a remote, extinct volcanic island, just about 5,600 feet jetting straight out of the ocean. There's only 3 small communities on, like the north, south, and west side of the island. So pretty tough getting to. Again, excellent terrain. It's an alpine climber's wet dream. And a few things, once you're getting there, there's one local guy that I highly recommend that owns Rira Mosa Pension. And he's a Japanese mountain guide that does alpine and ski guide leading and works it all through the summer. I think he's summited like 800 times or something like that, but excellent local photographer. He does a lot of good imagery on Instagram, so you can kind of keep up to date with snow conditions. There's a few resources online, Hokkaido Wilds being maybe the best written report on access routes, different alpine routes, and just overall information. Kind of going down again, you can drive up the road and cut off them, just about 200 feet from sea level. And, if you have a strong pace, I think two springs ago, I made it up there in 5 hours. We had a group of 5. A little bit more technical terrain than most other places you visit in Hokkaido. Definitely needing like ski crampons and crampons. Ice axe, highly recommended if you do want to summit. It's so subject to high winds, weather coming in constantly because there's nothing to block it, coming right off Siberia across Sea of Japan and just like blasts right onto the mountain. So just as the photo picture there, highly rhymed on any rocks or anything that's not sheltered gullies. So rope and like high technical skills isn't necessary, but definitely recommended, especially without a guide. Crampons, being able to be strong on that equipment is a must. Typically late February to late April is an ideal time, just because through the spring it has a bit better of those clear days in storms, if you go out there for 4 or 5 days, you're not going to get skunked the whole time. You'll hopefully, at least have an afternoon to get that clearing for a summit attempt. Again, HokkaidoWilds.com, excellent source. And the guy that owns this family pension is the most ideal place with food catered right there. You can just pay for a room, get a guide, and they have all the photos and the best beta like on mountain that you could possibly imagine. So definitely at least worth stopping by that pension. There's only maybe, I want to say I think just one Seiko Mart, which again, on the side of that convenience store, 7-Elevens, Lawson's, it's just like so much prepared food. It puts all of our convenience stores to absolute shame. So that, you can get a bit of food there, cheap accommodation, and to really just, if you're looking for that huge kind of remote mission just outside Japan, if it's not already weird enough hanging out in Japan and exploring the mountains there, it's just a phenomenal place.
Yeah,
I think
see some crazy laser robots in Tokyo. There you go.
Yeah, but again, I would say an ideal trip there, if I were to even go back, it would be about 5 days. I'd probably take a boat up there from Sapporo, ski different aspects in those gullies and get comfortable with the snow quality and the terrain. And then, the most accessed summit route is just off like the North Ridge straight to the summit, and then a lot of great ski descents. And definitely, again, the big step up from doing any other kind of skiing on the island. This is like a lot more weather dependent and a lot more skills to put all those pieces together.
Awesome. Well, sick, Zach. Thanks so much. And again, guys, make sure you hit up Zach here, hit up Sam. These guys are, professional guides, and they can certainly get you more information. And it definitely hit up Hokkaido Split Fest. If you're looking to plan a trip to Japan next season, this year was the first annual. We were proud to put it on with some of the sponsors that you see here. But, if you're going to Japan, why not also attend an awesome Split Fest? Another great option is taking some form of avalanche education. We offer a lot of different programs over there with both White Room and Hokkaido Backcountry Club. So you can get educated. You can also experience some amazing snow and some amazing culture from going to Japan. So just another reminder, we do still have a hatchet left. Support Aerie. You guys want to support Aerie? This hatchet is still available. There's one of 5, and 1-2 is right back there. So this is, one of the first 5 produced. So you guys can have this board before anybody else gets it next year. So really cool. And with that, guys, thanks again for tuning in. Please let us know if you have any last-minute questions. We will get them answered here in the Q&A. Drop us some information in the chat. Otherwise, arigato gozaimasu, guys. You will learn that quick. And my last tip is learn a few pieces of Japanese before you go over to Japan. These people are very respectful, and it will really make their day when you come and say hello in Japan and you can answer a few questions. It goes a long way, and I think that's one of the most important things you can do. So thank you guys again, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, thanks to our panelists, Zach, Pat, Jeff, Brendo, Sean, everybody for joining us. Thanks much, Kepler. Thanks, guys. And, I saw a lot of people out there. Thanks. What up, Z Griff? Thanks. Thanks again, Pat. Thanks again, Sam, Ben, for putting this on. And yeah, I did forget the pro tip thing. I think the last thing, be respectful, Ben. Like, I think that was a very, very good point. If there's one thing that pisses me off more is when, we see in these like videos of people going to Japan, just like, oh, Godzilla, or humping up on like the, some Japanese server. And it's just like, guys, like, we don't want to be those dudes. We want to represent wherever you're coming from, and, and show them, realize that we're all guests. to their country, you know. So you know, be respectful, be cool. You know.
Yep.
So word. So yeah, with that, arigato.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Gozaimasu.
See you guys.
Bye.
Later, guys.
Have a good night,
Yeah.
guys.
See you guys. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining. Nice work, guys.
Yeah. I think it's just us, Zach.
Who's going to be the final one? Yeah.
Ah, let's go shred sometime.
There's a few scragglers.
Yeah. Thanks, Leo. Thanks for making it so discussion based.
Yeah, try it.